we knew about Resident Evil 9 all the way back in 2021. And to think the game that we have all played and loved at first was leaked to have Wendigos, Goatmen, an entire system where you didn't know who to trust, who was a BOW, who wasn't. Now that everyone who has wanted to play it has pretty much played it by now, I wanted to go back and look at all of these really old major leaks and see how accurate they actually were. But to get an idea of how we all felt back in 2021, let's remember that Resident Evil Village released in May 7th, 2021, and we already had leaks all the way back then, even after this game. However, we did not know what to expect. They completely wrapped up Ethan's story, and for a good few years, Resident Evil was just Ethan's story. We did get a remake soon after that, but that's not the same as a main new game. But the first major leak that I have found off of Reddit was a dev document from 4chan. This was posted 5 years ago in 2021 on December 19th, which was a little bit after Village was released. From this leak, we learned that the game was going to be third-person survival horror experience. It was going to be an innovative partner system. I don't really know what that means, but apparently the team was trying to find a trusting system, something similar to Who is Friend or Foe, where you would have to find bioweapons among your teammates. Some kind of mimicry going on. It would resemble Resident Evil Outbreak and Resident Evil 2, and was supposed to have a feature that creates a sense of dread. It was going to be strictly single player. There was going to be a ghost town setting. The theme was folklore, creatures like Wendigos and Goatmen. Think of the book Ritual, or I guess the movie too. The final chapter was to finish all of the old story's characters. A release window of 2024. Some beta testings were happening all the way back in 2021, and it's still in the early stages of development in 2021. Looking back at this now, there's surprisingly a few things that were correct. The ghost town, for example, that was, I guess, our Raccoon City. I guess we did get a little bit of like poetry when it comes to the name Grace and Hope, and there was a lot of like hidden meanings behind characters' names, and bioweapons have always had some type of Greek origin or like inspiration. Think of Xeno, for example. But no, we did not see any Wendigos or Goatmen. However, I will say though, the Western setting was correct. We did get to see Resident Evil 9 in America. I would have loved to see a Resident Evil game that was very The Ritual-like.
What the fuck is that?
Or even Blair Witch-like, but I just feel like we already kind of have something similar to that. We already have 7 and Village, so I am very glad that that part was wrong. But we actually do get another leak that same day. From Game FAQs, we got Resident Evil Apocalypse. That was what I remember this game was supposed to be called. For a long time, that's what we all were thinking that this was going to be. So according to the source, here are some of the new information we got literally the same day as our first leak came out. The game is indeed called Resident Evil Apocalypse, and it's a working title. Testers are looking into new mechanics and how they work. The game will feature a remote ghost town in the west where a certain investigation will take place. The player will visit different locations like caves, nearby river, town itself, camping sites. In the first half of the game, enemies will look like some kind of deformed creature with huge emphasis on body horror. They resemble mythological creatures with horns, and locals will call them Wendigo. Enemies will be mimicking human voices and can even transform into friendly NPCs. This is the first instance of really smart biological weapons in the series. They are perfectly able to mimic human voices, and the player will be forced to look at their behavior to know their enemies. That sounds super cool. Sadly, we did not get that. Can climb trees and hide behind obstacles to avoid your bullets.
Oh my god, he just took half the tree down.
The town itself has a huge history, legends, and some ties with older events in the RE series. You can save local people from monsters or leave them to die to save yourself, but the monsters are smart. They'll detect if you saw a character's death to decide if they want to come back later and disguise themselves as said dead person. They'll attack the player, destroying their disguise only if they see you without any bullet. So these BOWs were supposed to be extremely smart, which sound like a big pain to program. The forest is really creepy and unsettling. It's easy to get lost without a map, so finding a map in this title is really important. Creatures will always be watching you from the shadows even if you don't notice them, like in Resident Evil 7 with Mia. Sometimes you will hear that somebody will walk behind you, but the creature isn't there when you turn around. And sometimes it's there for real. The player can force some doors to open, lock them, barricade, use melee breakable weapons, and so on. That was actually not that wrong. Because we did get a melee weapon that is breakable. One of the early bosses is a giant black dog with a twist, but less intelligent compared to other monsters. One of the main antagonists will be a woman called, I can't even pronounce that name.
Glazing.
By the locals. I won't go into any details about her, but she has a really beautiful design with green/gold ornaments and a green gown. The player will receive help from a woman/bioweapon named Holdo. She also will teach the player different herb types which can be combined with each other to achieve various effects. Plus can be used on other NPCs. The monsters fear this woman just as they fear and respect the giant dog thing. It won't come close. This serves as an explanation why they can't enter the saved rooms. The plot will be about 9th moon phase, and the nickname Apocalypse came from that idea. The moon serves as this game's symbol and probably appears on the logo, though I'm uncertain. That was the biggest chunk of a leak we've gotten after the first leak. Holy moly, was so much of that wrong. Let me know if any of you guys actually believed any of this. I will say there was, I think, like 2 things that were right. The main thing being the giant dog thing. We didn't technically get giant dogs, but we did get new dogs.
This stage just keeps getting better and better
In this game, but we did not see them till the very end. But we did get a female character that we were playing. However, the monsters definitely were not scared of her. It was actually quite the other way around. So yeah, this game's FAQ leak was absolutely terrible, completely off. I don't know if game FAQ is an actual reliable source or not, but just from looking at this, I would not trust ever again another leak coming from game FAQs. Twisted Voxel, the next year, 2022. This was July 30th. We got a article that kind of puts all these leaks together, giving us kind of information on the new setting and the new enemies. In this article, we go over the same thing. Western Ghost Town. This seems like a very huge leak that we kept seeing, and it wasn't necessarily wrong, but it did say that the region was going to include caves, rivers, and a camping site. I'm not really sure on that. We did get, obviously, in the end, we did get kind of like the leftover military camping area in Raccoon City, but that wasn't like, when I think camping site, I think of like in the forest. I don't think of like just a military home base. So that female bioweapon holder that I mentioned in the last leak, she was supposed to be someone that was basically your merchant. So she was going to be the one that sells you things, which is very interesting. I don't know why a bioweapon would be doing that, but I don't know. Did the merchant in Resident Evil Village count as a bioweapon? I mean, he didn't look human, right? So I don't know. But yeah, that was our next kind of huge leak that came out. It was pretty much just putting together everything that we already learned in the past last year. Remember, our release date was supposed to be 2024, and it was not anywhere near there. We got we got it 2 years after its leaked release date. So I don't know if we ever get a leaked release date for Veronica. I'm not sure if we have yet or not. Let's make sure we remember that it can very well be wrong, and we should give it a little bit extra time after that. Capcom themselves has announced the official year it will be coming out, so if any leaks come out giving us the exact month before Capcom officially announces it, I would give it like a little extra few months after its leak. But I'm not really sure if anyone really believed this or not. Now that I've played Resident Evil 9 myself, this was so off, and it really only got a few things off the surface of the game correct. So the last major leak that I have for you guys was this fake roadmap that showed all of Capcom's new games coming out and gave us the release dates. Now, we're gonna be focusing, because it also did end up showing off some of Capcom's other games, but we're just gonna focus on Resident Evil here. This leak ended up saying that Resident Evil 9 was going to come out on October 24th, 2025. It actually ended up coming out a year after that, so that wasn't true, and it was completely off. But we do actually, interesting enough, get to see the other release dates of the older games. So Village Winter Expansion, I don't really remember when that was coming out, but Resident Evil 4, let's look at that real quick. Official Resident Evil 4 remake was released on March 24th, 2023. And you know what? That was actually correct. So I guess based off of this, Resident Evil 9 ended up getting delayed. Same thing here with the Resident Evil 4 Remake DLC. That also was correct. So the lower projections seem to be a little off, but the top were completely right. At least that was something to look forward to, because I believe this leak came out in 2024. This leak wasn't completely useless. We still got to see when the remake release date was coming out and the DLC, which we still don't even know to this day when the Resident Evil 9 DLC is coming out. So, still waiting on that. But comparing all these old leaks to the official game, let's go through it one last time. Ghost Town, not necessarily wrong. We did get Raccoon City, which was basically a ghost town, but based on how the leaks were describing it, it wasn't going to be anything like what we actually ended up seeing. We did not get to see Wendigos. I do remember we did get a leak that Leon was going to be in the game, and that actually did end up being correct. I believe Dusk Golem was our main leaker who gave us the correct information, so that is where we learned that we also get Grace Ashcroft, who was going to be our second story that we were going to play, and that was correct. Returning to Raccoon City was also correct. Obviously, this game was going to be a spooky game, and this game was scary. I will give you that.
Oh my god, that actually scared the shit out of me. That actually scared me. Holy fuck. Holy fuck.
Especially playing Grace's storyline. And it was leaked, though, that we were going to get a female protagonist, and we did. We did. So now that we have seen how much leaks can be wrong or even right, I think it's important for us to realize why certain things can change and why not to trust every leak out there. Release date leaks tend to be some of the most wrong ones, because it's so easy for the development team to change that. Definitely don't believe every release date that you hear. I also think if these people are actually able to look into the game files, and I don't really know how leaking happens. Let's just say that they're getting a little bit of information on the game. I think a lot of people grab that very little information, and instead of just saying that, they kind of make these huge theories based off of it. So think about the woman protagonist, right? Way back in 2021, we knew that we were going to get a new female character. The new female character that was leaked was so off from the actual one that we got, and so it's just really important for us to not grab the smallest little things and turn them into these huge giant theories. I love theories, don't get me wrong. I think we are doing that a lot right now with one of Resident Evil's most mysterious characters, Xeno. And honestly, watch. We have been making these giant theories about Xeno, and just wait until we finally get information in Veronica, because I believe that game should show us some more insight on Xeno's creation. Loki might even be a little boring compared to the really cool and awesome theories that everybody has been making about his character. So this is just a great lesson for us to enjoy the leaks, don't get me wrong, but dim them down a little bit. Let me know which leak completely fooled you, or which one you actually ended up believing and it ended up being true or false. Me personally, the biggest leak, I didn't mention it in this video, but I remember one of the biggest leaks was that this game was going to be open world, and we were going to get a motorcycle, I think, or something like that, and we were going to be able to drive it. I have been waiting, I don't even know how long, years, for an open world Resident Evil game. I would literally do anything to get a Resident Evil like almost online MOBA game. That would be so cool. If you enjoyed this video, please don't be shy and like the video. It takes just 1 second and it really supports my small and growing channel. I post Resident Evil videos once a week here. So every week you can come back and enjoy a little fan video where we either just sit and yap about Resident Evil, we do some gameplay, I also create Resident Evil cosplays. Right now we are doing a Star Wars Albert Wesker one, and we talk about the latest Resident Evil news on this channel as well. So if that's something you're interested in, please subscribe. I am currently trying to get 500 subs, so every sub is appreciated. Let us not forget that soon the sun will set on the age of man. And thank you so much for watching this fun little video. I'll see you next week. Bye.